I would love to invite Jonty Bale from MONY Group, Alex Williams from Skyscanner, Tyler Davis from Canva, and Sage Choi from Apollo to join me on stage. We can talk a little bit about AI.
Oh, nice.
All right, so I've had the privilege and the honor to be talking to you all, some of you for 2 years, some of you have met more recently, but I would love each of you to introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about how your organization is using AI. Alex, maybe we'll start with you and come this way.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Williams, a principal engineer at Skyscanner. It's a travel meta search. Yeah, my day job, I think, if you asked me, would be like working in our platform teams with Kubernetes and traffic routing and CI/CD. But that feels more of a side quest at the moment to AI platform, which is obviously, as we've heard just a minute ago, taking over like every facet of what we do. So yeah, what I'm really trying to do now is with other leaders in Skyscanner, build up an AI platform that we can maybe get some sort of order out of the chaos, rather than just what the current state of the world is, which is everyone playing with every framework and every language and every model out there. But yeah, with my AI platform hat on today, I'll hopefully answer some of your questions.
It's perfect. Tyler, talk to us a little bit about Canva and how you all are using AI.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler, software engineer at Canva. We're using AI in a number of ways, probably most notably on the product side. If you've used Canva, you might have seen a lot of those AI features creeping in over the past few years, honestly. That's getting bigger and bigger, but obviously still using it internally as well. One of the coolest things I think we've done is instituted an AI-assisted interview. So it's actually integrated into our interview process. It's one of the first things we do, and I just started interviewing internally myself, conducting interviews, and it's been really fun seeing how candidates react to that, because I don't know how common that is. But developer portal or developer tooling, we're using it quite a bit as well. It is kind of in the same mode, I think, chaos. It's controlled in the way that we have sort of the enterprise account set up, and we say, please use your Canva email address when you sign up. But other than that, like, just use whatever you want. Yeah. And we're still waiting to see kind of how it shakes out in the end.
Later, I'd love to talk a little bit more about the interviewing and AI for it, because I think that's super interesting.
Sure.
Jonty, how about you guys? How are you all using it?
Yeah, so my name's Jonty. I'm a head of technology at MONY Group, which is a FTSE 250 listed business in the UK. We as a business, we're at 30 years old. We very much focus on how do we save people money in the UK. So we have a bunch of different consumer brands which help people find the right utilities or insurance or anything else. I think we helped about 14 million people in the UK last year and saved them about £2.9 billion. So it's a nice business to work for with a really good mission. We're using AI everywhere, as everyone else is nowadays. We're probably slightly less chaotic than other people because we've been through a lot of effort to sort of standardize our guardrails and controls and system, how we operate. And we're actually seeing genuine conversion and uplift from deploying AI into some of our customer journeys. And it's developing into a sort of really meaningful thing. But there are some really existential risks as also we're dealing with as a commercial business that's direct to consumer. Everyone's worried about search engine optimization, the impact of AI. Are people moving to agentic journeys versus searching for things on the web? And that represents a really interesting risk. We're investing heavily in that space at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're giving little hints for some of the questions we're going to talk about. And then Sage, what about you guys?
Hey guys, I'm Sage. I am what that says at Apollo, but I'm really a developer advocate. I run DevEx and developer advocacy function. AI is just everywhere, and it's probably easier to identify areas where we don't use AI.
We can talk about that.
But my job is to help enable more workflows to be AI enabled at Apollo.
I'm going to do an audible. We didn't practice. Where are you not using it that you're surprised by?
Places where it needs human eyes, where risk is too high for mistakes.
Okay, so not super surprising. All right, so Jonty, over the last few months, we've been talking about this, and one of the things that you shared that I would love for you to share with the audience is, what do you believe is really missing from today's mainstream conversations about AI and its place in engineering?
So I think we've, generally as an industry, we've accepted that, we saw from the show of hands earlier around Copilot that AI actually helps software engineers. It allows you to get rid of some of the drudgery and actually go faster. And although it may not give the benefits, we really understand the full ROI, it does seem to be doing something that's helping. But what's really interesting about this phase of technology adoption is, I think if any of you have had to work in sort of budgeting in a company, no executive turn around and say, no, you can't explore spending more money on AI. It's very much a top-down initiative that's being pushed on everyone. Use more AI, get more efficient, do more. But I don't think the people who are pushing forwards with this approach actually understand the second and third order impact of those effects are going to have in the long term. So we saw in terms of, talking in the keynote about taming the chaos. This is more chaos introducing back into the system. And I don't think we fully understand what that looks like. And I think executives are expecting to save less money on software engineering by buying AI tools, but I think they actually might end up spending more. And we haven't really got to the bottom of that conversation over the last couple of years. There's a really interesting theory in economics called Jevons paradox that came from the Industrial Revolution that says, if you make it cheaper to do something, basically, you end up, rather than saying you use less of that, you actually end up using even more and more. So I think we're in a situation now where over the next couple of years, we're going to see almost an exponential growth in complexity of systems. We're not going to, maybe we go back to microservices madness again, but we're at a cusp of that may be a thing that's going to come true, which I think we need to be really aware of.
Yeah, I think what you said was really important, right? It might help us be faster, it might look cheaper, but it doesn't mean it's going to cost less. And so how do you find that ROI and that impact?
Definitely. And I think it's also about, it will slow some organizations to a crawl.
Yeah.
It's a real risk.
I think, that's a lot of what we've been seeing in all of our conversations with our customers as we've been thinking about our own AI functionality. That's tying the two together is so critical and so important. All right, so maybe Alex, we'll start with you, and this is probably going to give a hint to what you're going to talk about later, but talk to us a little bit about, at Skyscanner, what are some of the frameworks you all are using to decide if the AI idea, hypothesis, or effort is even worth pursuing?
Yeah, so I might disappoint you to start with because at the moment there kind of isn't a framework, but bear with me.
Great.
And I think that is, like we've been saying, this exciting kind of top-down, use AI everywhere. So our squads and tribes are kind of self-organizing and trying to include AI agents in their workflows or add AI parts to our product. So we have like Savvy Search, where you can use free text chat to search for flights and hotels. We have AI summaries of hotel reviews, like live. But there's plenty of other things that are internal that people are working on, and maybe they'll go to a dead end. And I think at the moment, we're all learning at the same rate. And as leaders, normally you get to the position you're in because you have the experience in that field. And at the moment, we are all on the same page. Your teams know more than you do, or maybe you're one page ahead on the documentation, which is a very uncomfortable position to be in. But if we embrace that and realize that maybe the things we're building now we're going to throw away, and we have that mentality, then we don't get too precious, so we don't end up with too many pets. So one of our principal product people has put together a RICE framework, which is reach, impact, the kind of cost or confidence that you can do something, and the effort that it would take. And the idea is we'll score these between 1 to 5 and maybe put those on a list and say, okay, maybe not today, but these are probably the things we should be focusing on. And from the AI platform side of things, we have enablement teams that are doing model ops and gateways for AI and prompt engineering and all these other tools. Like, what do we build as an AI platform team that will help the other engineering teams? And that framework hopefully prioritizes the things that are more important to people. I'll let you know next time I speak to you.
Okay, I can't wait. I think it's interesting, right? What you just said really touched on it. Like, there is no playbook for this. No one knows really what's the right way to do this. There is no right way right now. We actually had a meeting with our customer advisory board yesterday, and a different customer said the same thing. There's a top-down mandate, use it. That's not a playbook either. So I'm excited to see how you all continue to think about this. But Sage, you and I were talking about this a little bit too. Talk to us about how Apollo is doing it.
I'm going to...
That was technically supposed to be my chair, but it's okay. That's why it's tilted.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, there is no perfect playbook here, right? But we do have a set of criteria so that we can stay focused and remain practical. At Apollo, we have a process called Technology Portfolio Review. I think some of our Cortex friends here know what I'm talking about. It's fairly rigor. Every initiative has to present a credible path for financial and operational impact. We link every investment, every technical spending to anticipated return on investment And we basically evaluate them and track them. We backtest them aggressively from the onset. All these initiatives will typically come down into one of the three categories. First is transformational, big, scalable impact. Second would be material efficiency. We're talking about measurable reduction in cost or manual labor. Lastly would be a controlled pilot. We're really talking about experimentations and niche use cases. Those are listed in the order of our priority. And next is probably something that you heard during the keynote, and I think this is probably true in most places. Readiness is really important, right? Is your team ready? Obviously, we look at your implementation architecture. How have you involved your stakeholder, engaging your stakeholder? And is your data ready? Is your data clean? Because we know that this is a garbage in, garbage out problem, and we do not want to end up with beautiful garbage. And are your stakeholders actually ready to embrace this new workflow change? That's important. And really, the idea here is that there's no glory in new shiny tools if we're not ready to really wield it to its fullest potential. I guess lastly, it would be the speed and accountability. That's really important, right? We don't want to be stuck in POC, right? We want to make sure that we pilot fast, measure outcomes, deliberate results based on data-driven evidence, and we decide, do we pivot or do we stop? The whole idea is that the decision-making process is really based on real tangible outcome and not hype.
Well, let's go down a little bit deeper. So you talked about the speed, you talked about reliability. Can you share an example of like an AI-driven automation that has really made the biggest impact?
Yeah, well, we're at IDPCON, so I have to talk about developer experience and productivity, right? More of developer workflows are increasingly become AI-enabled. Last year, we started with GitHub Copilot. This year, Cursor. Vast majority of PRs are now being described, commented, and reviewed through AI. We're also now scaffolding a lot of the new GitHub repositories that we create with agent-readable documents, such as Agents Markdown. And we're big fans of spec-driven development. So naturally, well, maybe not so naturally, but we use quite a bit of spec kit along with MCP servers like Atlassian, GitHub. And we use them to drive our day-to-day process, project, and sprint management. And they do wonderful things, I tell you. Recently, I was actually very fortunate to test drive one of your early previews of Cortex MCP server.
Super cool.
And next day, I forked it, I hacked it, made it into streamable HTTP, got it on our Kubernetes. And I start my day with asking, hey, let me know if there's anything that I should know before I start my day.
Oh,
and it would tell me, hey, you got these pull requests outstanding. Your pull requests are kind of, it needs attention, and you're going to be on support in the next week, so on and so forth. And already it's doing a lot of amazing things for us.
You're going to push that upstream?
Sorry?
You're going to push that upstream?
I will talk to the contributor because we'll talk after.
Sounds kind of like a chief of staff, doesn't it?
It does.
Huh, interesting.
From the business standpoint, I think data normalization also has been pretty huge. We already have multiple agents that would normalize data streams from multiple sources, like financial and portfolio information. And these things generally enable faster and more accurate data retrieval for further analysis, automating more of one-click report generation type of things. We're also seeing a lot of automations around data quality control. We do have, I know we recently enabled some of our key steps in security master data workflow, such that we'll be responsible for document reviews, data extractions, data conversions to structured data sets, validations, data routing, all of which has significantly contributed to reduced cycle time and lowered regulatory risk. But really, putting all these three threads together, and I'll be quick, is really, it really just comes down to a set of questions. One, is your AI automation eliminating repetitive work at scale?
Yeah.
And are you de-risking business critical processes? And lastly, is your team, are you giving your teams new superpowers? You know, are you giving them more availability, more speed? You know, if the answer to those questions is yes, then repeat those steps. All right, we test quickly, measure outcomes, and decide whether to pivot or stop, then notch it up. And that's how we do things.
I love that. Tyler, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You know, when we had the opportunity to visit your office earlier this summer, I thought of Canva and was able to see that culture of constant innovation, moving fast, always on that cutting edge. Like, I'd love to hear your experience. Like, what are some AI-driven automations that have helped you all move fast and reliably move fast?
Yeah, I think at Canva, it's still really individual based. We've built a few sort of framework platform level things to make it easier. We have a tool called Otter, which is just designed to make it easier to integrate with MCPs. So it's just kind of a glue tool in a way. But other than things like that, we're really letting individuals decide for themselves how they want to best use it. We did have, for example, an AI Discovery Week, I think we called it. It was early this year, where it is combined with a bunch of panels and workshops internally of how people were, sharing how people were using it, but a little miniature hackathon at the end as well, where people could focus on not just using AI to build things, but building things that use AI as well.
Yeah.
So both sides of the conversation there. But yeah, to be honest, I just feel like we're still way too early in this whole space to be able to say with any certainty how it's going to end up. I have no idea where we're going to be in 6 months, much less a year. I certainly would not have guessed everything that we have today if you asked me 6 months ago. So it's just going to continue to change.
It's funny, we were talking about that internally at an exec meeting, and I said something, I said, the letters MCP did not mean what they mean now, and it's wild to see how much of that has evolved, to your point as well. Okay, so we've talked about AI, we've talked about impact, we've talked about all the benefits, but where is it not a walk in the park? And, Alex, I'd love for you to share a little bit about, like, where has AI maybe let you down in what they've delivered to you, your org, or your team?
Yeah, I'm going to tread carefully here, so apologies if I offend anyone, I don't mean to. So a CXO got very excited about NA10. If you've not heard about it, it's a workflow automation tool. There's a lot of hype about it, and a lot of people have started using it to click and drag AI agents. So a lot of non-technical folk very quickly have got some sort of agent running, plugging in some tools, and they were getting some value from it. And it was, Alex, we need this, let's go get it. So okay, we'll do an evaluation, we'll keep it light. Normal procurement processes are out the window in 2025, right? You can't spend 3 years trying to find the perfect tool because it might not exist in 3 years' time.
Fair point.
So we had a look, and when trying to scale that to a 1,500-person organization, there were some things that didn't scale very well, particularly with NA10. And this comes from the time to value, if you've used it, is insane. Like, you can, from Docker run or paying for the cloud version to getting something that works is literally minutes. But some of the concerns we had were on the security and credentials and just how we would roll that out to a whole organization safely. So we looked at other tools, and then another one, and next thing you know, we're kind of falling back into that practice of the normal procurement process where we're looking at vendors and we're doing comparisons and we're talking with the procurement teams and legal. And it's like, I thought this was get it, let's buy it now.
Yeah.
The CXO wanted it yesterday, and now we're 3-4 months in and we're still looking, here's one more tool, So NA10 is a great tool. I'm not here to say don't use it, but the hype around certain tools that maybe have lots of YouTube videos or lots of blog posts or lots of things around it don't necessarily match with the expectations you have at an enterprise level.
I think that summed it up wonderfully. Like, there's constant innovation, but we also have guidelines, frameworks, governance that we have to go through. All right, Sage, we talked a lot about the impact, but then I'm going to use every VP of Finance's 3 favorite letters, ROI. How do you measure the success or ROI of your AI initiatives at the engineering level?
So this could be subjective. This could be absolutely case by case. But I think it really it comes down to the efficiency, engineering efficiency, a lot of which that we expect to get from Cortex's engineering intelligence. But we also have to look at, because a lot of the work that we are doing, a lot of the work that we are enabling may not immediately attribute to the top line of business value. So we have to have, you have to have good acumen and understanding in how you would evaluate and measure, the cost of opportunity, so that you are enabling others to deliver more tangible values. So I know I'm just throwing lots of curveballs and not really directly answering your question, because it really is different. It has to be evaluated case by case. But the key here is whatever it is, whatever it may be, has to be measurable such that it can be quantified in terms of numbers.
Yeah, I think if you go back to that playbook, back before all of this, you would hear the words efficient, and it was like, great, I can do the same thing with half the people. And I think what each of you have touched on in our prep sessions and today is, yeah, we can make them more efficient. It doesn't mean that we need half of them though, right? And so that's the actually interesting part of the playbook is like, how do we now define efficiency in this world of AI in a way that it still, correlates to finance and ROI and the things that the metrics they're looking for. Did you hear us, VP of Finance? I need more people on our engineering team as well. So do they all. All right, Jonty, we'll start with you. If you were to look in your crystal ball, and I know Tyler already said he doesn't know what is going to evolve in the next 6 to 12 months, but we're going to ask you to look in your crystal ball. What are some of the bets you're placing on AI over the next year, so this time next year? And how are you positioning your team to be on the forefront of that and not be followers?
Yeah, so some of the teams that look after our platform engineering teams, and I think when you talk about platforms for AI, it's really hard to go out there and build what do we think the platform is going to look like that's being developed in the world ecosystem. It's impossible. But I think next year is going to see a much better focus on standards and different tooling and different interoperability. So you've got to make sure your platform is ready for that. If people have seen what MCP Registry is, which is a JV between, it's an open source project between Anthropic, GitHub, other contributors, I think we'll all be standing those up internally and building governance models around it in the next 12 months. I think we haven't really fully understood what the best integration patterns are for AI. I'm already getting queries from execs around like, this tool we bought, it's awesome, it does these great things, but it's now costing way too much. So token cost is real, and I think we'll be seeing lots of initiatives around sort of FinOps in that space around how do we optimize our token spend. I think we may even see JSON not being very popular anymore. So talk about a API framework. JSON costs twice as much as other less verbose formats when you pass it into AI engines. So there's quite a lot of interesting stuff from that space. And on the product side, I don't know, it's just continue to empower your engineering teams and give them access to the best tools and see where they end up. So for me, it's really about continuing that experimental culture, but making sure you've got the platform that wraps around the supply chain risks that exist in your organization.
Yeah, I see it at the moment. It's like, maybe could I have a 1-year-old daughter, but all the toys are out of the toy box, and like in a year's time, we'll be going around and putting them all back in. And be like, what's this framework? Like, that's not, it doesn't exist anymore. It's got 4 GitHub stars, and maybe, I hope, the enabler in me wants there to be a golden path, but we've coined the term a bronze path at the moment. It's not a pretty phrase, but
Slightly shabby path.
Yeah, like a blueprint maybe. Is
What bets are you placing, Alex? You guys are pretty much on the forefront as well.
I think the things we're looking at the moment are going to be around education. So we've split up into a bunch of domains like model ops, LLM engineering, AI ready knowledge, and having an AI gateway that has guardrails built in and kind of abstracts away from the different models that we're probably going to need something like that. And maybe the technology will change, but there will have to be like models.skyscanner.net or something similar internally. Right? And the other one is evaluations. At the moment, we see loads of teams building things and then not running evaluations, which is kind of like writing code with no tests. And hopefully investing in those frameworks, at least something, would give engineers a way to properly evaluate what they're building with AI.
I'm going to ask Tyler, do you have any predictions? What do you see in the Magic 8 Ball?
I mean, bets are really the right word. I think, it's you got to pick something. You can't sit on the sidelines and just wait for it all to happen to you. That's the only surefire way to get left behind. I think the most confident bet you can make is that we're going to be using some form of AI, and of course it will continue to improve and be refined, and that's something you can definitely say with confidence. But for developer tooling internally, it's definitely very much a hedging type situation, right? We're going to just give our engineers as access to as many things as we can, measure it as best we can, and hopefully the new IDP tools can help us do that a lot. But I don't know. I think for us, it's really much more on the measuring the impact of an individual engineer is already really tough, right? And adding AI to that engineer's toolbox, it doesn't really make it any easier to tell how much impact they've had. So whatever tools you have for measuring someone's impact, you can still use those, in an AI-assisted world. So yeah, I'm just really curious to see kind of broad trends in the long run, what kind of data we can get from these kind of tools. The more data points, the better, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't think we have quite enough yet.
Yeah, I think data will give you a good amount of data provides you the right insights, and then you can take the right actions right away. And then Sage, anything to close us out? What are some of the bets you're placing?
So this is going to sound super weird coming from a guy who works at private equity shop. We don't make bets.
I knew you were going to
I think what we do care about is how to equip our people so that they learn how to learn fast. They learn how to evaluate and make assessments quickly, because over time, I think that is going to be a very, very important skill set so that you can keep your head straight, not get confused about new things that are popping up left and right. So make sure you hone your fundamentals. Keep your sharp, keep your technical acumen sharp. So yeah.
I like that. I like that as a takeaway. Fundamentals plus acumen, and then that's the right way to think about it. That's awesome. Well, I would love for all of us just to thank our panelists for their time and their insights. They'll be here for the rest of the afternoon, so we unfortunately don't have time for open Q&A, but they'll be here. So if you have any questions or want to pick their brain a bit more about topics around AI or anything else, developer productivity, engineering excellence, please feel free to grab them, and I'm sure they would love to have that conversation with you. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.